Ahem. Ahem. Hello, guys. How is everybody doing today on this fine afternoon? Uh, 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 uh. What is my mission? Just wait. Before we get to the mission, like, there's just things that I need to show you guys. Things that need to be done. You're redecorating your room. I already redecorated my room. I already did it because I get shit done. Because I get things done. And it's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Yo, thanks for the 5 gifted. Yep, it's awesome. I know. Look. I know. I've got a couch. I added lights. I hung my YouTube signs. I'm missing one in. I added lights up there. I added lights over here. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a bit of an interior designer. A little bit. Yep. I've got my Pokemon boxes. Got my manga. More manga. Yeah. What can I say is that when the going gets rough, I get going. That's what I like to. That's how I do it. Yeah, I ate and I left no crumbs. I got the white couch to have so we can have some. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Contrast. So I got some contrast because the room was all gray and it was cluttered. It didn't look clean. See how it's not cluttered? It was cluttered before. Yeah. I know, guys. You know I can get done. Yep. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna give you guys a hint of what I'll be doing today. Okay? Because I was assigned a mission. Yo, thanks so much for the gifted subs. I can't see my notification feed is like broken. Anyways, I can't see it, but thanks so much for the gifted subs. I'm gonna give you guys a little hint. I was assigned a mission by Dream. Something that he needed to get done for our project that we've been working on. But he didn't have enough hands. And I said, I have 2 of them. You guys know what this is? You know what this is, chat? You don't. You couldn't fathom it. And that's fine. Small brain. Some would even say I'm smarter than you. It's a computer thing. It's a code thing. It's a circuit board. I think. I'm pretty sure it's a circuit board. It's a circuit board. What can you do with a circuit board, Sapnap? I don't really know. A lot of things. You can do a lot of things. The things that you can do is a lot of. Now, what do you do with a circuit board, chat? What do you do with a circuit board? Rebuild PC? No. We take the circuit board and we add things to the circuit board. And then we solder them to create things. To create anything we want. We can make anything we want. Now, what am I making? What am I help making? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Just know it's of importance for our project. And maybe if you're smart, you can figure it out. Maybe if you know a thing or two about circuit boards and, you know, all the just things that fill up my massive brain, you'll figure it out. Okay? Now, I know nothing about circuit boards, so I need to learn some things about circuit boards. Ow! I hurt my toe. I need to learn. To be honest, I could probably just go into this. I've been explained enough where I think I could just like raw dog it and probably make a somewhat working thing. But I don't like half-assing things. So we might not even finish this stream. First of all, we're gonna watch YouTube videos. We're gonna learn a little bit. Second of all, we're gonna use the dummy circuit board. Where we don't solder. No soldering. We plug things in. And we're gonna practice. We're gonna make lights. Okay? Arts and crafts. We're gonna teach ourselves a little bit before eventually. This is the stages, guys. Okay? No soldering. Just practice circuit board. Remember? I just showed you this. Practice circuit board into practice soldering the circuit board. We're actually going to solder things on this board. Again, this is practice. And then eventually, we're going to make the actual thing on this tiny circuit board. We're going to make the actual thing on this tiny circuit board. Now, are we going to get to that tiny circuit board today? Probably not. Today, I think we're going to watch a little bit of YouTube videos so I can better understand. I think I understand how this works for the most part. But obviously, I could understand more. There's always more to understand. And then maybe tomorrow, we'll actually finish the circuit board. Maybe we could finish it today. I don't know. It depends on how cracked I am. So, yeah. Does it make sense? Now, look. If you're too stupid and you can't understand these complex terms, you can't understand these complex terms and these complex technologies. The door is literally right. The door is literally right there. Okay. Explain in Minecraft terms. Redstone. We're going to try and essentially shrink the redstone. Okay? Explain in Valorant terms. Killjoy. Okay? You guys understand. Oh! Yeah. There, explain in Cocoa Melon. Come on, Peach. Now, everyone calm down, relax. The first thing we need to do is, I forgot. What is this thing called? You don't know what I'm saying. I need to understand how this thing works. Chat, what is this? Who in here is an electrical? This is the breadboard, yes. What is this one? What is this one? I need to watch the basics on this. Practice breadboard. Alright, listen. Basics for breadboard. How to use a breadboard basics. Here we go. This is what I needed. Simply Electronics. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Chat, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. They already have a lot of subscribers.
Hello, and welcome to the 10th episode.
You see? I have that. I have these things. Look, I have it. I also have those wires. Look, see?
Electronics Basics. In this episode, we're going to have a look at breadboards, what they're about.
I'm learning with you guys. By the way,
use them.
I'm actually learning. I'm learning.
Off with, breadboards are
Okay.
an easier alternative to soldering. A breadboard is just a really, really easy and straightforward platform for prototyping and building circuits without having to mess around with soldering irons and circuit.
Also,
so,
guys, chat,
so we'll-
chat. Before we get started, this is potentially dangerous. I could cause a fire. So, to counteract that, I'll have this fire extinguisher next to me. Now, I don't even know how to use this fire extinguisher, to be honest with you. How do I use a fire extinguisher? It says pull pin, hold unit upright. So I'd grab this pin. I'd pull it. Aim base of fire. And you pull this lever down. Okay. Fire extinguisher here. We'll have that just in case, because when I'm working, again, I'm only working with a pretty small battery here. This is the battery that we're going to be working with, guys. We're not working, I can't really hurt myself. I can't shock myself, luckily. This is the battery that we're working with. It's pretty small battery. But you can cause a fire if you connect the positive charge and the negative charge together. I've been instructed not to do so, but I'm only human. Okay?
We're going to have a look into how breadboards work. So if we take a closer look here at the breadboard, this is how the connections work. The rows going downways are electrically common, and I'll show this with an illustration overlaid on top.
They're electrically common.
These rows
so I'm going to teach you guys because it helps me learn. Electrically common means if I plug a positive charge into here, this whole row will be positively charged. I connect a negative charge thing in here, this whole row will also be negatively charged.
all connected together.
And if I connected a positive and a negative charge in there, battery go kaboom.
Column is electrically commoned together. So this column here is all one connection, which also means that the column next to it is not connected to the column to the left or right. And that's the same for all of
I don't know my rows and columns. Okay, these are columns, these are rows.
these columns here. To connect one column to another, we actually have to use some wire. So if I put a piece of wire in one column and another column,
they're connected now.
I have now made a connection between these two columns.
Okay.
So these two columns
I'm actually learning this. We're all going to learn
each other. And it's very useful to know how these are connected.
Also, I have
it allows
this.
you then to go on and create series circuits or parallel circuits. And on most, if not all breadboards, there is also two other connections on the side or the top, depending on which orientation you have it at. And those are the power rails. So these rails are across here.
Power rails. What are power rails, chat? So if you look at the back of this circuit board, let me go full cam. I'll teach you because teaching you helps me learn. What is the back of these? What does this look like, chat? So look. Here are our rows, okay? These are the rows, remember? Or the columns as he described them. Whenever you plug a charge in here, essentially you're just putting the electricity in this metal, right? And it goes sideways, right? So, but if you plug on one of these ones, these are like, the way this works, you see how it's all like on the side? Like this? If I were to plug a positive charge into here, it would positively charge this whole thing, this whole metal bar. See how there's two of them? So what you can do, it's already labeled for you really nicely. If I could, let's focus. Just plug a negative charge and a positive charge. That way the whole row will be positively charged and the whole row will be negatively charged. And then we can just draw from this, from stuff that's plugged in here. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? I know it wasn't very well.
Common, unless you have a break on the illustration there, which means that between these breaks, this side is not common with this side. And you can see that there is one labeled negative and one labeled positive. So when I'm actually connecting power to these rails, the
breaks show where the electricity starts. So if I plug a positive in here, all these will be, these top ones right here. Oh, you can't see. If I plug a positive current in here, these four, the rest of these last four ones will be positive, and there's a break here, so these will be normal. They won't have any charge.
I will connect the negative into the negative rail and the positive into the positive rail. So the top row is actually isolated from the bottom row here.
Yep, top row.
See that
You can see
going across
you can see
here,
how it's
showing that this is
because there's two different
negative
metals.
and it's
See, it's two
electrically
different metal
common,
things.
and the line going across the top there, which is showing that this top row is positive, and that's electrically common. But given that this is broken, it gives us the option to either bridge it and make it all electrical common, or we can run a second power supply and even a third and fourth power supply onto the same breadboard. So there are many different uses for it.
So you follow these lines, I think, not actually these, which I was incorrect about. You follow these lines. These show you where the breaks are.
See, with a breadboard, you need some kind of jumper wire, and jumper wires are basically breadboard compatible wires that allow you to make connections across the breadboard. Bear in mind, you can actually just make your own jumper wires out of preferably solid core wire with a thickness compatible with the holes in the breadboard. And I'll make a little LED circuit just so you can see how everything works. Now, I'm actually powering the circuit board off an Arduino here, which is just a 5-volt power supply. And again, I've connected the positive and negative to the power rails of my breadboard. So this rail is now live at 5 volts. Now, bear in mind, you need to know the polarity of any polarized component that you will be using. An LED is polarized, meaning it has a positive and negative. The positive side is the one with the longer leg, or the LED will have a flat side to show you which side is negative. So to connect the LED, I've noted which side is the positive, it's the longer leg, and I'm going to keep that on the left. So I'm going to put the positive leg into this side of the board and the negative side into this side. So they are now in two different columns, and because they're in those two different columns, electricity will not flow between the columns. The electricity has to flow through this column, along the LED, and to the second column. The second thing I need is
the electricity's got to flow.
So I have here a 100 ohm resistor, or thereabouts. I'm going to connect one side of the resistor
to the positive
side, where the negative of the LED is connected. So it's in the same column. And the second leg of the resistor, what I'm actually going to do is just put it round here and connect it to the negative rail of our power supply.
You put it in the negative.
So you can see now, I've got a resistor coming from the negative rail, going to the same column as the negative lead of the LED. And what I now need to do is connect another wire
to the
same column
to the positive.
The positive of the LED, which I've just connected it behind so you can see the LED. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect the other end of the wire to the positive rail of the breadboard. And there we go. You can see now that the LED is lit. So I've got my power coming from the Arduino here. The negative is connected to this resistor. The power is flowing through this resistor to the negative lead of the LED. It's going through the LED, out to the positive lead of the LED, round and to the positive rail of the breadboard. What I'm going to do now is actually add some more LEDs to this.
You're adding more LEDs.
Add them in parallel. Noting the polarity that I placed the LEDs in the circuit board, I'm going to keep the positive on the left. So there we go. I've got my extra 2 LEDs in place. So I now need to add the extra wires to make the parallel circuit. So I'm just going to connect another wire to the positive rail of the board, and then to the positive of another LED. Then I'm going to take another resistor and connect the resistor to the negative of our second LED, and then back to the negative of the power.
LED's on.
And there we go.
I'm so lost. How are we getting lost?
We've got a yellow LED lit now. So I'm just going to do the same with the last LED. I'm going to connect another wire to the positive rail, and then the other end to the positive side of the LED. And then I'm going to get another resistor and connect that to the negative of the LED, and then to the negative power rail. And there you have it. My brain is fried. You guys are stupid. Connected in parallel.
Just kidding.
On our breadboard. I will be doing some more videos on the breadboard as I show you how to build different circuits. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave any comments or questions below, and subscribe for more.
Well, chat, now that we've learned said thing, it's time. Now do what he just did. Alright, hold on. Let me create the scene. I didn't create the scene for this. Now we're gonna do what he just did. To a woman so heartless. Can you be so heartless? Are you on the spectrum? What the fuck? I don't know. I don't know. On and on and on. Studio mode. Okay. We are now in studio mode. Yep, I do have a hand cam. I'm just setting it up. All right. All right. Here we go. I have all the things, chat. We have this thing. Okay. If we go in this box, we have the battery that we're going to use to power it. Okay. We have the LED lights. And we have the wires that we can use. And we also have the resistors. Wherever they are. Where are my resistors? Oh. It looks like I only have one resistor. And we have the resistor. Oops, you guys can't see it. Resistor is here. Okay. Now. So, on a battery or any kind of thing, from what I've gathered, what I've been told, is that red is positive and black is negative. Okay. So, I already have this kind of pre-made. Oops. Wish there was a better way to do this, actually. Let me practice. Let me see. Will this go in here? It will. Okay. Let's get a red one. Let's get a red one. And a black one here. Red wire, black wire. Okay. Let's connect the red wire to the red wire. Boom. Red wire to the red wire and black wire to the black wire. Obviously. Red positive, black negative. Boom. Okay. Now, if I were to I need to be careful. If I were to touch these together, no good. I could cause a fire, okay? So I need to be careful here. Red will go into red, like so. And black would go into the negative. Boom. So this board is now active, okay? But we will unplug this for now. Gotta be careful here. Okay. We'll unplug it from the battery. We'll unplug it from the battery for now. Okay. Keep this battery away from all the things. Okay. We'll do that at the very end. Now, the long side, Chad, the long side is positive. The short side is negative. So we'll do this. Long side on the right, positive on the right. Chad, remember. Positive on the right, negative on the left, okay? Okay, and he said put the resistor on the negative. Actually, let's flip it then. It's be easier. Positive on the left and negative on the right, okay? Okay. Now let's get an orange. All right, well this should work. Let's plug it. Should we test it? Should we plug it into the battery? This should work. When I plug this in, this light, this little red light right here, should work. Should we test it? Okay. Red into red. Black into black. Oh, it's on! I did it. Can you see it's on? Okay. Now I want to test something, actually. Okay, boom, unplug it. It's no longer on. Whenever I was testing, I had the restrictor into the positive, not the negative. So I'm going to test that. Positive on the left, negative on the right. Alright, let's do it. Boom. Alright, it's on. It's on. You know what? Can I power multiple lights? Begging on her knees to be popular. Okay, what if we unplug this light? Okay, I'm being a little bit crazy. Let's be careful. Let's unplug. Take this glizzy out. Let's try the green light. Let's try the green light. Oh, it works. I did it. Okay, so now we understand the basics of how the electricity works. Okay? Understand? We understand the basics of how this electricity works. So essentially, the only difference between this, Chad, the only difference between this setup and soldering it to this is that this is permanent. Right? Once I've soldered it here, it can be undone actually, but like, this is like set up kind of, it's so easy I can unplug it like that. Once it's soldered, it's kind of stuck. Build a parallel circuit? What do you mean a parallel circuit? I tried plugging in another light. I didn't like it. We can try plugging in another light down here. Doesn't work. What does solder mean again? Solder's like kind of like gluing it down with metal, hot metal. Oh, that's cool. When I plugged in that red one, you see that? When I plugged in the red one previously, it's like stole the electricity, which is interesting. Interesting. Now, I've never used soldering before, so I've never actually soldered. This is my practice solder. I need to learn how to solder. But essentially when I solder, I have to have that door open because I don't want to breathe in the fumes. Okay? You understand? So, let's unplug this. Unplug it. Move the battery away from things. Deconstruct this. Drink. Now it's time to set up the soldering thing, which is what we have this here for. So we can solder on this. Now, I've never soldered before, so I'm going to need to watch a YouTube video on how to solder, because I've never done it. But I can use, look, I have these things which are nicely here to help me solder. I can hold shit up and work on it. You know what I mean? So I don't have to hold this, because when you solder, essentially I'm going to be touching this to metal at the same time and melting the metal. Okay? You understand? Anyways, let me go grab the things. Let me grab this stuff. Okay. I have a fan to blow the smoke away because obviously I don't want to breathe in the metal. Okay. And then this is the actual metal that I'll be soldering. Again, this is my first time ever soldering, so I need to learn how you solder. Kitty. 2 kitties. Look. New room, huh? Now, guys, we need to focus on the task at hand. Okay? We need to focus on the task at hand, please. Now we need to learn how to solder. 'Cause I don't know how to solder. Solder ring basics. Okay.
This is a video that I've wanted to make for a long time. A lot of the projects that I show on this channel involve some amount of soldering, and I always try and give some tips and advice for the type of soldering that I'm doing in a particular project, but even so, it can be pretty intimidating if you've never touched an iron before. And I always see some people in the comments saying that they'd love to do these projects, but the soldering is what's holding them back. So with those people in mind, today I'm going to give a beginner's crash course in soldering and hopefully convince you that it's not as scary or as difficult to learn the basics as you might be thinking.
Okay.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do in this video. First, I'm going to go over some basic concepts and some common issues that I see people running into as they're learning how to do this. Then I'll go over some basic techniques for some different types of components that you're likely to run into as you get into this hobby. Then at the end, I'll give some advice for things to look for in a soldering iron when you're going to buy one, and some other tools that I'd recommend to go along with it. As usual, check out the link in the description for a blog post. That's where I'll put links to any tools or supplies that I'll mention. Also, if you have any questions or if you need any help with anything, we've got a Discord server and I'll link to that below as well. Okay, so let's start with the very basics. Soldering is when you fuse together 2 electrical components using a metal alloy called solder. And by the way, yes, I'm aware that most other countries pronounce the L in the word solder. For whatever reason, we decided not to in the United States. Wasn't my idea. Anyway, that alloy comes in several formulas that are made up of metals like tin or copper or lead. Personally, what I like using is 60-40 rosin core solder. That means that it's 60% tin and 40% lead. You can get it without lead, but I find that a little bit more difficult to work with. So if you're using one that has lead in it, just make sure that you wash your hands after you're done. It also comes in different diameters. You can get really thick or really thin solder. Personally, I prefer thinner because it makes it easier to fit inside pinholes, and it also makes it easier to control how much you're applying. Rosin core means that the center of the solder is made up of rosin flux. Flux is another important component of soldering. It's used for cleaning metal surfaces and removing oxidation and just getting them ready to accept solder and fuse with it. There are a few different types of this as well. Some of them are very thin and basically evaporate as you work with them, and some are thicker, although those thicker ones can leave a sticky residue that is sometimes corrosive, so you'll want to clean that off with some alcohol when you're done. If you're using rosin core solder, then in most situations, you won't have to worry about using additional flux, although you'll still want to clean off that residue that the rosin leaves behind. Flux can be especially useful for working with ribbon cables or tiny pads on a PCB because it'll facilitate better surface tension to sort of pull it onto the metal pads where you want it to go. Now, a couple of common mistakes that I see people making when they're first starting out. The first is that I'm trying to figure out what these people are thinking. I think that the issue is a lot of people seem to think that the goal with soldering is to sort of melt the solder onto whatever you're trying to join together. Almost like you're squeezing icing onto a cake or something like that.
Okay.
That's not the case. Instead, what you're trying to do is heat up both of the things that you're trying to fuse together and then melt the solder into that. Might seem like a small distinction, but it is incredibly important. Because if you do it the other way, if you just kind of dribble the solder onto whatever you're working on,
I'm gonna
first of
fuck
all,
some
it's
shit
gonna
up.
be really messy. But you'll also run into what's called a cold solder joint. That's where it might look like the two things are connected, but it hasn't actually fused with one or both of those surfaces. So you'll have an intermittent connection at best, or at worst, no connection at all. The other issue that I see constantly, the old saying, less is more, that definitely applies to soldering. You only really want to use just enough solder to make the connection. Sometimes you'll have a good reason to use a little bit more. For instance, on the Minty Pi, where the L and R button board connects to the power board, you should make those solder joints a little bit bigger because they're actually kind of physically reinforcing that connection between the two boards. But the vast majority of the time, you only want to use just enough to make that connection. If you use too much solder, then you run the risk of bridging whatever you're connecting with some neighboring components. That can be really bad, to say the least. So I'll start with probably the easiest type of component to work with, which is through-hole components. You can find all kinds of different components in this form, like capacitors and resistors and LEDs, and they've got these long legs that are meant to go all the way through a circuit board. You find these a lot in commercially made boards, like these giant capacitors on this printer controller board. For some of them, you might have to bend the legs to make them fit into the board, and I'm just using it with some prototyping board here just to give an example. Slide it into the pinholes and then bend the legs outward to hold it into place. Use the tip of your soldering iron to heat up both the pinhole and the leg at the same time, and then feed a little bit of solder onto it. A good temperature to start at with soldering, by the way, is between 300 and 325 degrees Celsius. And that's it. Like I say, really easy to work with, and you can see that I hardly had to use any solder at all. That's kind of a theme that you'll be seeing here, is only use as much solder as you actually need. Another type of through-hole soldering that I've shown a few times on this channel is attaching header pins to some type of board like this tiny Arduino board from Adafruit. These make it so that you can stick it into a breadboard, which makes it really easy to work with for prototyping. So the easiest way to attach these is to put the header pins into the breadboard so that you have everything lined up, and it'll also keep the legs perpendicular with the board. And then, just like in the other example, use the tip of your soldering iron to heat up both the pinhole and the pin and feed a little bit of solder onto it. For this one, I'm using a little bit more than I did on the previous example, and that's because these are going to be under a little bit of stress as you insert it and remove it from the breadboard, so you want to make sure that it's got a nice solid connection. I like to do one on both sides, and then just go down the line and do the rest. And this is about what it should look like when you're done. You'll notice that the solder extends just a little bit up above the board and makes kind of a cone shape. And I should probably go back and clean up all the excess rosin from the solder on this one.
Okay.
So next up, let's talk about wire. This is the kind of wire that I like to use. It's coated in silicone.
Should we just
so it's
try
nice
it?
and flexible, and it's not going to melt from your soldering iron either. It's also really...
Should we just fucking try it? Fuck it, do it. Taking off my watch. Alright, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's try and solder this fucking thing, huh? How hard could it be, chat? This guy was doing it. I'm smart. Soldering things on now. Let's see, is it hot enough to melt shit? Let's see. Be careful. I'm careful. It's not hot enough to melt things yet. How long does it take for it to heat up? How long for solder to heat? Between 1 to 3 minutes. Okay, we have 3 minutes to listen. Only I wish I found a lover that could hold me. And I'm crying in my room. So skeptic of love. But still I wanted more. Alright, I'm skipping. Don't worry, chat. We have a fire extinguisher right here. Right, Milo? Right, Milo? What are you looking at? Alright, see if it's hot enough to melt the metal now. Oh yeah, it's getting there. Turn on the fan so we can blow away the smoke. I don't want to breathe that shit in. Oh, it's doing it! It's doing it, chat! It's doing it! It's doing it! It's doing it! Look, it's smoking! Okay. Okay. I don't want to breathe in that shit. Hold on. Okay. Let's try and solder this thing in. Let's try and solder this. Oh, I did it! 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 Oh shoot. Alright, I did it. I did it, Milo. Chat, look. Can you see? I soldered that in. Look, it won't move. It's in there now. It's in there. It's fucking in there. Now, should we test it with the battery? Should we do the battery setup again and see if this will work? I'm gonna turn off this soldering thing because it's making me nervous. Turn it off. This doesn't burn us anymore. And let's see if we connect electricity to this, if it'll work. Okay. Let's test this. Let's make this again. Let's make our positive and negative thing. Positive. That was wrong. Positive. Negative. Then that will plug into the battery over here. Oh, I don't think it'll matter. Fuck. Chat, which one's which? Fuck, chat, I don't remember. Which way did I solder it? Okay, positive's on the left, I think. Positive on the left, I think. I'm pretty sure I have positive on the left. Okay. Oops. Okay. I need the positive charge. Now, in theory, this should turn on. When I plug this into the battery, chat, this should turn on. Okay. Milo, stay back. This is dangerous, Milo. It didn't turn on. It didn't turn on. I don't know why it didn't turn on. Fuck, I don't remember which way I put this thing in. Can someone check the VOD? Can someone check the VOD? We can't tell on the VOD. I don't know why it's not working. Fuck, I think you guys are right. I think the positive's on the right. Let's try and switch it, see if that'll fix it. Yep, I had it backwards. Okay, okay. I had it backwards. We did it. It's working. Nice. So that was my first thing I've ever soldered, and that worked correctly. Let's go. Alright. This is my first thing I've ever soldered, and it worked. Cool, it's unplugging now. I think I'm uncomfortable. Now, should we solder the rest of the shit in here? Just to say we did? It's a lot of stuff to solder. But we could do it. Fuck it, let's solder it. But you know what, guys? If you want to watch the rest of this soldering, you're going to have to watch on another website. I'm getting the link. It's that time. It is that time. I'm going to go ahead and be switching the stream up and finishing the rest of this on Kick. I don't know how far I'll get. A little bit further. Here's the link. This is where I'll be at. If you guys want to come hang, come hang. And yeah. I will see you all there. Bye-bye.